Good evening, Bradley basketball fans, and welcome to episode 2 of the virtual Coaches Caravan. Our guest, Andrea Gorski, the head coach of the Bradley women's basketball team. Coach, how you doing this evening?
Good, Cody. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while since we last saw you at the Renaissance Coliseum, but great to catch up with you. This Bradley Athletics Virtual Coaches Caravan is brought to you by OSF HealthCare. OSF Healthcare sports medicine doctors have special training on restoring function to injured athletes so they can get back to competing as soon as possible. OSF Healthcare, proud to be the official sports medicine provider of Bradley Athletics. So, Coach, since we've last seen you, coming off a 22-win season, the winningest season in school history, and it was kind of stopped abruptly there. So, how have you during this time off, how have you kind of handled things, not only personally, but with the team as well, in terms of staying connected?
The thing about how the season ended, our team's always been a really close-knit team, so staying connected is has been really easy for us. I know the players they're so tight. Right when the season ended, devastating, but I'm sure there's a day that didn't go by that they weren't in constant contact with each other. So, it just I can't tell you how important it was to get back to campus and see them again and get started. But yeah, what a great group! 22 wins. I think it's I think sunk in now. Took a little time just to reflect a little bit, and I think the most impressive thing about our team and winning 22 games is they did it in arguably the strongest Missouri Valley Conference in history. From top to bottom, just a tough conference. For most of the season, our conference, Missouri Valley, was the top-rated mid-major conference in the country. So that says a lot. So the 22 wins were well earned, and now it's just say let's get back on the court, and we're going to be zeros, 0-0, and let's start again.
So, during this time off, are you like a binge watcher? What'd you do personally during this time? Did you pick up a hobby? What'd you do?
Uh, I'm not gonna have a hard time retiring, eventually down the road, hopefully a long, long time. I have a lot of hobbies and I love biking, and so I hit the road a lot and got some of that in. I think that's just good, just for mental state and that too. But we got a lot accomplished as a staff in March and April and May, and rounded out our 21 recruiting class, and so made a lot of strides there. And it just our staff worked incredibly hard, even though we weren't in the office every day. Constant Zoom meetings with our team and players, and a lot of film review, and so I really feel like we got a lot accomplished. And but yeah, Netflix, I was able to watch some shows that I can't focus enough in the season to watch because just the whole coach's ADD is always kicking in, and so don't watch a lot of TV in this during the season. So I was able just to relax a little bit and recharge. The first time in forever. I've been coaching in 26 years now, and even in the off seasons years ago, I was picking up and coaching my kids' team. So never really had an off season, but I'm ready to go, and I know our team is. I mean, they're ready to go right away. So, um, you know, retirement, rest, having some time off that will, I know I can survive. That's a good thing because I was worried, like, I don't know if I think I'll survive. It'll be okay.
So let's talk about your team. I know they're back on campus. They came back on Monday, I believe. So they can get individual workouts in, but you can't really be there. So what's the process here for this? I imagine it's a catch 22 of sorts. You're excited that they're back, and a little disappointed you can't get out there with your player.
Yeah, like I was telling you a little while ago, Cody, it's like Christmas Eve every day. So,
Yep.
and just trying that, it is great. We're so fortunate that we were allowed and able to bring them back to campus. Monday was their official start back day, and it looks a little different right now because they are in quarantine, and so they're just with their roommates, and they go to the weight room just with their roommates. They go to on the court time is just with their roommates. So, um, they better like their roommate, I guess, number one. But uh, so it's a little different. Yeah, it's voluntary workouts, so that's up to them if they use the facilities. But I know our kids. All I heard for the last 2 months is, "Coach, when can we get back in the arena? When can we get back in the weight room?" Because not all of our kids have access to that at home, and it was just frustrating. I was so frustrated for them, and just they just wanted to get back at it. So while we can't be instructing them and everything's on their own, I'm just happy for them and really for their mental state, just to get back to some sort of normalcy. And the feedback we've gotten from the team has just been tremendous in that regard. Of just they're just happy to be back on campus. Let's get this quarantine situation over with, and hopefully in July we can get back together as a full squad.
Absolutely, and I know you're at the top of the list of folks looking forward to those summer workouts. So they get back on Monday, and then on Tuesday, the student athletes participated in a rally that started on campus and then walked downtown towards the Civic Center, a peaceful protest that was organized by student athletes. So, how did that come about? And one of your players, Mari Petrie, said some really powerful words at that event. So, kind of your thoughts on that and coming together to support your team and the Bradley student athletes as a whole.
Yeah, really student athlete driven. When George Floyd situation occurred, in the days after, in the aftermath, we had a team meeting through Zoom, and that was frustrating, just not being able to be in the same room with them and see them and hug them, and that's challenging to have these conversations over a screen. So, but we made the best of the situation. And I tell you, our team, I've talked to some coaches, said, well, our team really didn't want to speak out, and it was quiet, and I had to, like, it was like pulling teeth trying to get them to talk. Our team is not like that. I know, they're very comfortable around each other. I feel like they can talk in front of the coaching staff honestly and openly. And the newcomers, the five newcomers, of course, didn't say a lot because it was their first team meeting, and here we are talking about such important, serious life and death matters. But our team is. I just left that meeting really inspired, really fired up about the youth that we have in this country, and feel good about their passion. And really, the message from us is, hey, we're here to help. It's your voice. Let us know what we can do to support. We have your back. And but this is you guys are going to drive this. And I mean, our team. I mean, I trust them tremendously in what their message is, um, and they were so excited to have that opportunity to march from the Renaissance Coliseum downtown to the Civic Center with the men's program, with our administrators, with Dr. Reynolds, with other coaches at Bradley, whatever other student athletes were around campus at the time. And it was awesome. We had a police escort that were alongside us the entire way. I think that says a lot. And it was just the message was loud and clear for a very peaceful protest. And the words that our student athletes spoke, and Mari in particular from our team. I mean, I had tears in my eyes listening to her, and I've had several people call me after the fact to say that they had tears in their eyes and they were so inspired by her words. And but that's the passion. Nothing great happens without passion, and I just feel like our student athletes are very passionate, and Bradley University is it's an atmosphere that is going to allow them to speak their voice. And I know that the coaches on our staff and the other staffs, and Dr. Reynolds, certainly we have their back.
Well said, Coach. Well said. And as we kind of look at the roster now, you have a good mix of returning talent and some newcomers. So let's kind of start with some of the returnees. You're going to return uh, 4 starters. Am I right? I mean, it's a good time to get on board and really get out and support this Bradley women's basketball program. So, what do you have to say about some of these returning players who will play a big role in the upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's like Christmas Eve every day for us right now, because we really just can't wait to get them back on the court. And, we've got 4 of our top 5 scorers returning. Like you said, 4 of our 5 starters returning. Leading the way is Laisha Petrie, Gabby Hawk, first team all conference last year. So I'm not sure there's a better wing tandem in the conference, and they've got another year under their belt, and they've been great leaders as well in the off season here, trying to keep the team together and using their voice, and it's just fun watching them grow as leaders off the court, and they're just raring to go. So feel really good about our 2-3 spot there, and then of course Nija White, who I think is the most improved player in the Missouri Valley last year. She was tremendous for us. She averaged over almost 11 points a game. Really hard to stop. She's one of those players that you don't have to drop a play for, and she can create her own shot and just does so much for us, and really improved on the defensive end. And then Tatum Koenig, and if Nija wasn't the most improved player in the conference last year, I know I'm a little biased, but I think people would say Tatum Koenig might be a front runner for that award as well. But our point guard is as tough as they come. I know she's a fan favorite because she's relentless, and yeah, she's 5'6", but no one wants to mess with her. So she's just has and I love that Tatum in our meetings now, our Zoom meetings, is she's speaking up and trying to be more of a vocal leader. So that's going to make a tremendous difference, because she's had some great role models leading the way the past few years, and I think she's gonna have a bigger voice on the team this year. And you got Mari Petrie, who came off the bench last year for us. Her role is going to be bigger this year. She was all freshman team, and Emily Marsh. Emily underwent another hip surgery, so she'll be out for the beginning of the season. But that kid. I mean, you talk about some key moments she had for us to win some huge games, and just another 4-year player that again doesn't get a lot of credit. But boy, does she understand what our culture is, what we're trying to do, and she's all about winning. So I mean, we just have a lot coming back, and it's like I said, you just want to get everyone on the court and get our newcomers used to playing with our returners.
And before we get into those newcomers, the one starter who's not returning, Chelsea Brackman. This was a fan submitted question earlier in the day. How do you kind of replace Chelsea, because she's a leader, the all-time leading rebounder, obviously in school history. That'll be a big blow, but obviously a lot of pieces to fill in there. But she's the one starter that's gone. What was her impact in her 4 years here at Brad?
Oh, I mean, I remember the first time I met Chelsea. I had just gotten the job at Bradley, and her and her dad came up to campus, and I just remember I said, "Chelsea, what are you, like 6'2"?" And she's like, "No, 6 foot." And she was kind of walking, like their shoulders slumped. Sometimes tall females do that. And I said, "Chelsea, don't you want to be tall?" And she's like, "I don't know." And it's just really quiet. And to see how she grew, obviously on the court, 2-time first team all conference player, um, all-time leading rebounder at Bradley, but just to see her confidence and her spirit, and how she grew as a young woman, that was just so fun to watch, and great leader for us, our one of our most vocal leaders we had on the team. So I don't think that Chelsea is someone you just say, "Hey, we're going to replace her with," pop in a new player here and that she's going to replace Chelsea. I think it's going to be multiple players, and we've got to replace 11 points, 10 or 11 points, and almost 9 rebounds a game. So, but really, it's the intangibles that Chelsea. I wish we would take stats for charges taken at Bradley. I wish we had like the career record, because I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say maybe Chelsea would own that record, and for a post player to do that is pretty cool. So Chelsea is doing well. She's accepted into the physician assistant school at Marquette, so she'll be starting there in the fall, and I had a chance to see her she came back for the rally on Tuesday, so and took part in that with us. So again, that says a lot about her and just supporting um, our team yeah, we're definitely going to miss her and but I do think it's going to be a team effort to replace what she gave us and I think some like I mentioned earlier with Tatum, Gabby, Leisha, Nija, Emily just having more of a voice on the team this year is help replace Chelsea's leadership.
So we talked about the returnees for the upcoming season. You got a good mix of newcomers, right? You went with freshmen, obviously, but we got a couple transfers as well. So
Mhm.
an interesting time to watch Bradley recruiting. So let's kind of break down what each player brings to this year's team.
Yeah, so we have three freshmen coming in. We've got TT Danzo from the Minnesota area, and she is athletic 3-4. We'll see where she fits in best at what position. Extremely hard worker and an outstanding athletic defender. Long. And that's one thing we wanted to get better at from last year is just getting a little bit more length and athletic. We love to play defense. We're one of the top defensive teams in the conference, and we're always going to hang our hat on that. And but she's going to help us in that realm. Just a really smart defensive player, can rebound, get up and down the floor. I we've Isis Fitch from Chicago area. She'll play the 4-5 for us, but can also step out and hit the mid range and just a really high basketball IQ. Isis will bring right away and some more length. She can get out and defend multiple position for us. Another athlete again, but I think Isis is just a really smart basketball player for a freshman that comes in already with a high basketball IQ. That's going to be huge for us and her learning curve. But and then Sammy Martin out of Wisconsin, she could really score the basketball. We look for her. She'll probably play a 4, maybe some 5 if we go small. But she can score. She scored a lot of points in high school, and she can rebound the basketball. So more length out there. She can guard multiple positions. We're just kind of getting a little bit more, I think, versatile type players the last few years that maybe don't, we stick at one position and say, hey, that's your position. They could play a variety of positions. So the three freshmen are all very versatile and, you know, bring in different skill set for us. But more importantly, these young women are competitors and high character. They just want to win, do whatever ever they can to help their team right off the bat. The fans are really going to like them and their energy and I like I said, I just can't wait to get on the court and play with them and work one on one with them. So and then a couple transfers. Chloe Rice out of St. Louis University. She'll be a junior for us, and we'll have to wait and see if she's going to be able to play for NCAA waiver or not this year. So another long guard. So you've seen a pattern here, Cody. We like the length.
Hmm.
Um, another long 5'10", 5'11" guard who can really shoot it. And, I think she was just looking for a system that really gets up and down and she could play a little freer on the offensive end. And that's certainly how we play. And I think she's going to be a great fit for, I remember watching her when she was in high school and hoping that we could recruit her, but she'd already committed to St. Louis. So I was like, darn it. So we got her now and just can't wait to start working with her.
Take
And
that.
then, yeah, and then to your point, how we're going to place Chelsea a little bit is, bring in a little bit more height, and but most importantly, with our culture now that we have, I love where we're headed with our culture. Where we were last year, we took such a big step forward. It's a player-owned team. I think that's really important. Um, I've never been someone that, wants top-down leadership and this is how we're doing. It's the teams that can lead from within. I think are the most successful teams, but the most enjoyable teams to be around. So I think that is, where we look to can we bring in some height, but it's got to be someone that's going to fit our core values, someone that is going to fit in with within the framework of our team, what we're trying to do, and that's our 6'4" transfer from Winthrop, and I'm not even gonna try to say her last name yet because I know I'll mess it up, and I should know that, but I know how to say her first name. Uche.
Uche.
I asked her
Okay.
the other day, I said, "Uche, what's your nickname?" She said, "Ooch." So, I mean, so, but what a great character kid. She is just raring to go. She's had some injuries, so she's had to sit out a little bit. And I remember the first conversation I had with her was like, "Coach, I just want to go. I want to leave um, with a bang. In my last year of eligibility, I want to go somewhere, a winning program that can make a difference, that can help win a championship." And I mean, 10 minutes in the conversation, I was sold on this kid, and just how much she just wants to come in and help any way she can. But obviously, she's going to help 6'4" rebounding defense, and for a big kid, she can really run the floor too. So I think fans are really going to enjoy watching all of our newcomers.
A good variety of talent, as you said, and recruiting's interesting because another fan submitted question that we received. I want to ask you kind of how you approach recruiting. What specifically do you look for when you're out and recruiting, saying, "Hey, I've got a scholarship to give, and I want to give it to you." What qualities are you looking for in that prospective player?
I think that's changed. It changes every year based on where your program is. So the first few years recruiting, it was number one, finding players that hate to lose, that are so competitive, that we're that that they live and breathe basketball. Obviously, at Bradley, the academic piece, they've got to be great students. That's always going to be there. Um, but I know our staff worked extremely hard the first 2 years, setting that framework of the tone of the program, and really, um, everyone thinks that the coaches set the tone, but it's really the players and how competitive they are. So just really first few years was finding kids that maybe flew under the radar a little bit, that had a little chip on their shoulder, that wanted to prove people wrong, that maybe weren't recruited heavily. Gabby Hawk was not really recruited. I think she had two offers, us being one of them. Nigel White was not heavily recruited. So really trying to find those kids that just they really had something to prove. And I really believe that. And so, you get that type of talent, that type of energy, competitiveness, and now it's really our goal is to fill in pieces and find kids that obviously are competitive. That's always going to be there. I mean, if kids are more concerned about their points and playing time and that, and over wins and what they can do for the team, we're not going to be interested. So trying to find the right pieces and it fits our culture, and that's most important, because when you get your culture where you want it to be, you work extra hard to keep it that way. And so making sure you find the right young women to come in and help push that culture forward is, to us, the last 2 years has been the most important aspect of recruiting.
And you talk about your culture, and it's something you hear a lot about from coaches. And the one thing that you'll learn if you come to watch a Bradley women's game, which you absolutely should, because this team's trending in the right direction. I've seen it as much as anybody. How do you kind of go about implementing that? You come in as a new coach. What's kind of the process of the buy-in? And I imagine it didn't take very long because you've seen the results over the last few years.
Well, to me it took forever, but all coaches are are impatient. But it is really just being consistent. I think with anything is just being consistent with what you say, being consistent with what you do on the court, and again, finding the right players to come together that believe in your core values and what you want the program to stand for. And I mean, our assistant coaches, I mean, every day they defend our culture. They make sure that it is it's they speak it, they walk it, they talk it, they do. And so, when you have all that support, and it's a complete team effort, I think that's the easiest way to get it as quick as you can. But it's not something, young coaches, always ask that question, but it takes time. You're gonna get it wrong every now and then. And but I think admitting your mistakes, moving on, but consistency, I think is the most important aspect of establishing culture in your program.
And one of the things we touched on here in the last few minutes is how this program has improved since you took over. We mentioned 22 wins last year, the winningest season in program history, won 13 Missouri Valley Conference games. And as a result, attendance has gone up, and there was quite an uptick in attendance last year. And it makes Renaissance Coliseum a tough place to play when there's
Mm.
people packed in there. It gets loud. So, what does that kind of mean to the program to see that the fan support increase over the last couple of years? And how does that kind of give your team energy?
Honestly, it's one of my favorite memories from this year is just the excitement our players felt, knowing we had a home game coming up, a big home game, and slowly but surely, the fans you could see, a couple non-conference games, and then some of our bigger conference games. Man, it was just a joy to be part of, and the coaches before the game always go over there and do the obligatory handshake. How you doing?
Hmm.
Great. You're having a good season. Blah blah. And more than two or three coaches in the valley said, it's watching film of you guys. The first thing they notice is how many more fans are in your arena now, and so it's not like it's now they got to worry about that, and it does make a difference when we go play at Most Day, we go play at Drake and Northern Iowa, and some of the other venues that have a raucous crowd. I mean, our kids think about it. They do. They're like, oh, we got to, put up with this. And so now I just love that. Not only do our Missouri Valley foes have to worry about the team that we have on the court, but they have to worry about the noise in the stands and the passion of our Bradley fans. And I just, I'm just really appreciative of that because it means a lot to our team. And you just play harder. You do when you know people care in the community and you know that they're there to support you, you go a little harder. And so that was fun to see, and I'm excited for that same support next year.
Yeah, and you touched on that the increase in attendance being something that sticks out from last year. So we kind of take a look down memory lane for a moment. There are a couple moments that stand out, whether it be a game or maybe something funny that happened on the bus or anything like that. Something what stands out to you?
We just have a fun group. I mean, they're loose. I know that would drive some coaches crazy with how loose they are, and but you need to coach to your team. And all coaches are control freaks, but I think I've learned as I've gone on in years here, the experience is get the feel for your team, see how they best respond. And they're a loose group. They love to have lots of fun. I mean, our trip to Portugal last summer, last August, I mean, I'll never forget it. How grateful our team was to be there, not only getting the opportunity to play 3 games in August, but just, I mean, how loose they were and how much fun they had with each other. And it was just nice to, put our hair down a little bit and hang out with our team when you're not so stressed about the next scouting report and getting ready for a game. And those were great memories. But I just like our team because, we can get on each other. We make fun of each other. To me, those are the closest teams where, you can kind of, someone does something, makes a mistake or does something funny or falls down or something. Our team's all over one another. I mean, you can't, they get, I mean, if I trip, if I do something, it's all over. And I love that they love each other that much, um, that they can be vulnerable with one another. And I think um, that's how we all feel, the coaches, players, and uh, yeah, just great memories. I remember, beating Drake at home, and our team running over to the student section. It was a great memory. Dr. Reynolds coming in our locker room right after the game, and just great memories at Renaissance Coliseum. I honestly, this team really coached themselves. They were just a fun group to be around, and I love that we have so many experienced players returning because they're going to want that same thing.
You talk about the closeness of this group, and I might have asked you this during the season before a game. Where does this rank kind of in your time as coaching, in your time coaching? Is this one of the most tight knit groups you've had? Is it the most tight knit group you had? Where do they kind of stand in that regard?
I think when you look at your in terms of winning games won, um, those teams are always the tightest teams. And yes, talent is huge. You've got to have talent out there. You got to have players that can put the ball in the basket, players that are willing to defend, tough players, physical rebounders. You have to have all that. But the teams, it I've had teams like that in the past, and maybe we we finished second or third in the conference, or we you know won 20 games, but maybe didn't reach their potential. I thought this team was on their way to reaching their potential because they were also very tight, and it's honestly will go down in one of the most special years of coaching, just because it was like an aha moment. Like you preach, you say, if you do this, good things will happen. Just stick to the process. Stick to the process. Okay, it's going to pay off. And I think when we started winning some big games, I think the team was like, aha. And then, as any coach will say, once you have your program realize that, now it's the players that will take that and run with it, and that's what they did. And I think all the best players, all the best teams I've coached, the tightest teams, when the season's over, they're devastated because wait, we can't hang. We're not going to be able to be together. All this time, every day, travel. That's what hurts the most. And this team was no different. They were devastated they couldn't play for Missouri Valley Championship, but I think just the fact that they're never going to be together again in the same capacity was heartbreaking for them. And yeah, I can probably point to three or four teams in 26 years that had that same feeling after the season. So it's very special. But I have no doubt that our upperclassmen, our leaders, are set to mimic that again for this upcoming year.
And you talk about the upcoming year, so let's kind of take a peek at it. And the first question I'm going to ask you about the upcoming season is not a fair question to you, Coach. I'm sorry, I don't know how you're going to answer it. Uh,
Oh boy.
if the season started today, who's going to be your starting five? Now, granted, we could probably guess
Oh
four,
yeah.
but
Well, you're a smart
yeah,
man, Cody. Smart man.
yeah. Thank you, thank you. I'm picking up. I'm starting to pick up on some stuff.
Yeah, honestly, it just depends what style of play. I think we can go small ball, which is funny because 2, 3 years ago, I couldn't stand small ball. I'm a smash mouth. Let's pound the ball inside. Now we got kids shooting threes right over half court. Um, you know, so uh, but I do see that we have a really good small ball lineup. I also think that we've got a couple new players that could come in and play right away. Um, and we're going to be a deeper team than next year. There's no than last year. That's the one thing where I see improvement is we weren't real deep. I mean, we played 8 kids pretty consistently, maybe 9. But I think this next year's team is we are going to be talented and deep. And that's going to be, I think, the difference that's going to take us even further. So I can't,
And
yeah, I wouldn't, Emily's going to be out for a little bit, so we're going to miss her defensive presence, her just savvy for the game. Um, but I love that it's going to be competitive. I mean, we've got, Mari can play so many different positions, and I know she works so hard. I just can't wait to see her out on the floor again, and her confidence and has just grown. And we all know with Mondays with Mari. If you haven't tuned into Mondays with Mari, um, it's on our social media accounts. We've taken the last few Mondays off because there's more pressing issues and messages going on right now. But we'll be back with a very special guest on Monday. But that's another kid that just really, for to be a sophomore, she has a lot to say and is a great leader for us as well. So it's going to be fun. Like I said, I can't wait to really get started with them.
that was a good coach's answer there, Coach. Well done. The the Valley next year as a whole. I mean, uh, what a top 5 league this year, top 6 league in the entire country, and Bradley was a big reason for that. How do you see the Valley shaping up again next year?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be another tough conference, and we were pretty excited. We finished with a top 50 RPI, highest ever in Bradley history, and but you look at Missouri State, who's a top 25 team, Drake, who was right there, Northern Iowa, and I mean, it's going to be a great. There's several first team all conference players returning, several top 10 scorers in the conference returning. We have two of them, and it's good, but that's how you want it, And I think that the reason we're able to have such a RPI is our entire conference. Is they made us compete night in, night out, and I think that we're beefing up the schedule a little bit, non-conference this year, and so that's going to help us even for an at-large bid, I think, next year. And we're just kind of positioning ourselves to for postseason play, which we're really excited about this year. Would have been the first time in school history, and but the good thing is I feel very fortunate, and the team feels very fortunate, is we have so many pieces coming back, so many key players with experience coming back that we kind of feel like, yeah, the season was cut short, but we have unfinished business. And to take that passion, and it's now as a coach just trying to control it. And okay, guys, let's it's still a process, and you know the Valley, you got to bring it every night, and just I'm glad that Bradley is finally able to help with the conference RPI and be one of those teams that can do things on a national stage now.
Coach, you hinted at that schedule there. What can you tell us about the non-conference schedule for next season? I know you can only go into so much detail on some games, but what can you kind
Yep.
of hint to the fans there to look forward to starting in November?
Yeah, we're still waiting on some contracts, but like I said, it's going to be a beefed up schedule, and hopefully in the next week we're gonna get a announcement of an invitation for our team in the non-conference schedule. So that's all I can say right now. But I do think there's going to be some great basketball in the non-conference schedule and at Renaissance Coliseum. So again, I'm glad that we're Bradley is getting the national recognition, and this is the time. Bradley fans, come out, watch us. We averaged over 70 points a game last year. It's run and gun. It's fun, guarantee it, and it's going to be no different next year.
I love that. That's a good little teaser for the Bradley faithful, and love to see the Red out there in November. When it comes to scheduling, though, it's not easy. And I think that's kind of a maybe a misconception out there in college sports. Like, well, why can't you get so and so? Why can't you get so and so? It's
Yeah,
not that easy.
no, and you got to do it in advance. And Coach Fessler does our scheduling, and I know he would gladly hand that up off to another member of our staff. But it's funny, the first 2 years, I mean, we got calls every day. We wanna play you, wanna play us. Well, yeah, yeah, of course you wanna play us. And now for us, it's really hard to get games, especially at home. But that's where you wanna be. And so, yeah, we gotta work a little harder. We were able to finalize our schedule here in the last month. So, but it is tough for the mid-majors, for the top mid-major schools to get home games. And but that's a problem that you're glad to have. And I don't want to go back to the days where my phone was ringing off the hook and people were begging us to play them. So it's a good thing.
And coach, before we let you go here, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you a question or two about your playing days here at Bradley, back at the Robertson Fieldhouse. Uh, I want to know. This is more of a personal question for me. So if the fans don't like this one, I'm sorry because I think this is interesting. The raised floor at the Fieldhouse. What was that like playing on it? And I would imagine there were some opponents who little freaked out about it, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember my freshman year doing our first conditioning workout. I was like, well, I don't want to, by running too hard or trip, I'm going flying in the stands. But you get over that really quick. And, I never really fell off the court in 4 years. So that was good. But I will tell you that opponents were always a little hesitant to chase a ball out of bounds. So that helped us. But I think the best home court advantage of the field house was how hot it was in there. And I loved playing with the Heat because, I was a shooter and, you're a little loose and, it was a really good shooting gym. I think all the men's teams will tell you that too. And you could really shoot the ball there. And, but the opponents would come in and accuse us of cranking up the heat, on purpose. And we're like, no, it's always like this. So, um, but I have a picture in my office of the field house, and I have a framed picture in my basement of the field house, and I think one of the best home courts that you can play in the college level. And there's very few like that. I know Minnesota, they're raised courts, and it's a little different. But the fun thing now is when we have the students and the fans come out to Renaissance Coliseum, and the intimacy of that court, and um, you know holds 4,400, and it's starting to be a great home court advantage. So it just means a lot that yeah, we have a new court now. But our players would die if they had to play on the Renaissance or in the field house, how hot it was in the race court and that. But I really enjoy it, and it's great memories for me.
And I'll finish up with this. You could shoot the ball in your day. Who would you compare yourself to on this current Bradley roster?
Well, everyone, Gabby gets all over me. Coach, I broke your record, blah blah. Well, I was a point guard. Okay, so that's I had other things going on, Gabby, but shoot, I couldn't shoot like Gabby. I mean, her release is, I don't know if I want to own Leisha's shot. Let's see. I would say, I was probably a little taller version of Tatum. Um, and probably not that good either. Tatum is special. Um, but I'm just very thankful I played for Coach Boyer, who was someone that, lets you just play real loose on the offensive end, and that really made a difference. And I think I've taken a lot of what I played at Bradley, a lot of those offensive concepts, and brought that back here. So, but I don't know. I think the game has changed so much, conditioning wise, strength wise. It's totally different. For uh, our players, what they put in the weight room is as much time as they spend on the court. And when I played, it was, probably a 1 to 10 ratio. And so, it was a different game back then. Our kids, I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of time they put in, and just what great athletes. And the women's game has come so far from when I played. And I think that fans that came out this past year, maybe that haven't watched a game since maybe when I played, and it's a long time, but um, I think they understand that the women's game is something special now, and I'm really glad that Peoria's really embraced us.
Okay, I got one more. I got a fan submitted question that came in for you. What made you want to come back to Bradley?
Oh, geez, what made me? What I mean, uh, eh, you know, when I came to Bradley as a student athlete from the Detroit area, and experienced in the 4 years as a student athlete at Bradley. I don't know if you always recognize that while you're playing. But when I left and got into the real world and started raising a family, and I just valued so much what Bradley did for me. And everyone knows Bradley's a good academic school, and that's never going to change. But just the attention that you get because of the size of the school, and you just people really take an investment interest in you. And that really, again, I didn't appreciate that till I was a little older. And that's not everywhere, that's not every college or university. And I just the opportunity to come back, and try to give our young women in the women's basketball program the same experience I had, that's really gonna uh, give them the fuel to take on the world when they graduate. And that's really, um, to be able to do that's a blessing. I mean, I'm so thankful every day, because I wouldn't be who I am without Bradley University. I mean, I came from, like I said, a shy kid to Peoria, didn't know anyone. I know everyone believe it's hard to believe that I was shy at one time, but I was. But just the people that empowered me at Bradley and took an vested interest in me every day, not just as a basketball player, my professors, and believe it or not, there's still a couple professors at Bradley that were there when I played, um, and the coaches, the administration, everything. Just it's the whole package at Bradley, and to be able to lead our program here, and really shoot for those same core values. And again, it's a dream come true. I'm truly blessed. So that's it's a no brainer to have the opportunity. And I'm really thankful that Dr. Reynolds took a chance on me and brought me back home.
Well, it's certainly paid off to this point, Coach Gorski, and we greatly appreciate you taking some time out of your Thursday evening to do this. And it was great catching up with you, and I'm looking forward to the season. I'm with you. It's like Christmas Eve. I want it to come sooner myself. So, Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Hey, Cody, really appreciate this, and appreciate our fans that tuned in. And go Braves!
Go Braves. And this Bradley Athletics Virtual Coaches Caravan is brought to you by OSF HealthCare. OSF HealthCare sports medicine doctors have special training on restoring function to injured athletes so they can get back to competing as soon as possible. OSF HealthCare, proud to be the official sports medicine provider for Bradley Athletics. And make sure to join us next Thursday. We'll have the fall sports coaches out for episode 3 of the Virtual Coaches Caravan. Coach, you got any questions for them?
I want to know, what games do I need to get my team ready for to come to watch? What are the biggest games on their schedule that they need 14 crazy young women and 6 crazy older coaches there to cheer them on? So when we get those on our schedule, we can't wait to have sports back, and especially Bradley Brave sports in the fall.
Coach, it's been great talking to you, and we'll let you get going. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks, Cody.
And to the Bradley fans, same to you. Thanks for tuning in to the Virtual Coaches Caravan. Have a great rest of your Thursday and have a great weekend as well.